Hello everyone, in this video I'll talk about Xavier initialization. So without wasting any further time, let's get started by importing the necessary modules. Now that we've imported the necessary modules, let's move forward and generate some data. So this piece of code is what I utilize to create my training data set. There are around 1000 samples that I've used. So let me run this cell. The training data that I've generated contains two variables x1 and x2, and I have a target variable y which contains two values again 0 and 1. So basically this is a binary classification problem that I have. Let me go forward and show you the scatter plot in order to explain what the data set is all about. So let me run the cell. So this is the two-dimensional data set that I have. I have two features x1 and x2. The points in red denote class 0. The points in green denote class 1. If this idea is clear to you, let's move forward and split our data into training and testing. So let me run this cell. Now that I've splitted the data into training and testing, the next activity that I want to undertake is basically create various versions of models with different weight initializations and show you the advantage of using Xavier initialization. In order to create multiple versions of models, I've created a function called as get_model, which has an input parameter called as input activation. So let me go over the function in order to explain how the neural network model is created. In the first line, I create an instance of the sequential class and save it into a variable called as model. In the next line, I add my first hidden layer with 10 input units, that is 10 input neurons, and the overall input dimensions are 2, given I have two features x1 and x2 from the training data set. And I catch hold of the input activation and pass it through this layer itself. In the next two lines of code, I create identical two hidden layers with 32 neurons each and a variable activation function which I again catch hold of from the function call. The final part of the architecture is where I define the output layer, which is again a dense layer having one neuron, and the activation that I use in this case is the sigmoid activation function, given this is a binary classification problem. The next part of the code is where I specify the loss function, the optimizer, and the matrix that I am creating the model for. So if this idea is clear, let's import this function in memory. The next function that I'll utilize is to understand the overall performance of my model with respect to the loss, that is the training loss and the validation loss. So that is what I'll plot in this final figure and return this figure to evaluate how good or bad my model is performing. So let me go forward and run this cell to include this in memory. Let's consider the first case, that is I have a neural network ready and I have randomly initialized the weights to very small values. What happens because of that is the signal shrinks as it passes through each layer until it's too tiny to be useful. This may not make a lot of sense right now, but what I'll do is I'll kind of walk you through the entire code piece to make you understand this concept. So let me start off by creating a model from the function that I just discussed above. So let me run this cell. Let me go over the network architecture for you. So this is the model that I have. So there is a total of close to 1500 parameters that I have in my current network. The next thing that I do is I catch hold of a very small value, that is 0.4 zeros and a 1, and assign it to a variable called as small_weight. So let me run this. In order to discuss the pitfalls of having really small weights, the first thing that I'll require is the actual weights of the neural networks at initialization. So the way I get that is by the function get_weights. So let me run this cell. Let me show you the weights of the first layer, that is the layer connecting the inputs and the first hidden layer. So let me run this. So these are the weights that I have. In all, I have 20 weights. Now that I've shown you all the weights that exist in the first layer of our model, let me go forward and reinitialize it to the small value that I just showed you above. So the way you do that is you catch hold of that variable, which is small underscore weight, create a numpy array of ones, and the shape that you want is the exact shape of that layer that you have. So let me run this cell, and let me now again show you the initial weights for the first layer. All the weights have now been initialized to again a very small value, which is 0.4 zeros and a 1. I go forward and do this for the entire network. If you're wondering why I have skipped the indices 1, 3 and 5, those indices are basically the bias indices which are initialized to 0. So I don't want to mess around with those. Now that I have initialized all the weights to that small value, which is 0.4 zeros and a 1, I want to set this array as the new weight vector for the network that I have. So the way I do that is by the function set underscore weights, and I pass in the array that I have. So let me run this. Let me now go forward and train my model for 200 epochs and validate my overall performance with respect to accuracy on the validation data set. So let me run this. This will take a while. Now that the training is complete, let me go forward and show you the actual performance of this model, which was initialized to very small weights. So let me run this cell. So as you can clearly see, with every increase in epoch, my overall validation loss kept on increasing. That simply signifies that the overall model is not performing really well. Let me also help you visualize the decision boundary. So this is the decision boundary. Essentially, it's not able to learn anything at this point of time. The reason being the weights are too small and there is very little update that is happening. So this is one of the major drawbacks if you use very small weights in order to create like the best possible classifier. Let's move forward and look at an instance when you have bigger weights in picture. In order to create a model which is randomly initialized to large values, the entire process still remains the same. The only change that I've made is rather than having a small value, which was 0.00001 in the previous case, what I've done in this case is basically I've taken a big value, which is 50. So let me run the cell. Let me catch hold of the initial weights. Let me reassign the weights to a bigger value. Let me set the new weights now. And let me train the model now. Now that the model is trained, let me go over the performance of it. As you can clearly see, both training as well as validation losses are going down with increase in epochs. So it's doing a better job as compared to the previous model. But the only catch here is it will take good amount of time in order to converge to the optimum weights. So this is the problem that you have if your model weights are really large. Let me also go forward and plot the decision boundary. So this is the overall decision boundary that has been generated. It's a straight line with declining slope. As you can clearly see, half the samples which were of class 0 are misclassified. Half the samples of class 1 are misclassified as well. So the overall performance of this classifier isn't that great. So that is where initialization becomes really important in case of neural networks. And that is what I aim to discuss with Xavier initialization. Now, in order to make use of Xavier initialization for your model creation phase, the only change that you will have to make is when you create a dense layer, you will have to add a parameter called as kernel underscore initializer and assign it to a value called as glorot underscore normal, which is the keyword for Xavier initialization. I have carried out this activity for all the dense layers that I have. So let me run the cell. Let me catch hold of the weights and save it into a variable called as Xavier underscore weights. Let me now go forward and train the model. Now that we have trained a new model with the Xavier initialized weights, let me show you the performance of this model. So as you can clearly see, both training and validation losses decrease with increase in the number of epochs. So this is like the normal behavior that you should observe when you train a neural network. Let me go forward and show you the decision boundary for this new classifier that we've just created. As you can clearly see from the decision boundary, it is able to learn the patterns really well. So the region inside the circle is classified as 1. The region outside the circle is classified as 0. Yes, it's not the most accurate model that we could have come up with, but given the small number of iterations or the small number of epochs that we trained the model on, and given the limited amount of data that we have, it's doing a decent enough job, and it also shows the power of initializing your weights using Xavier initialization. So this was my attempt in explaining how Xavier initialization can help you find the right weight for your network architecture. I hope you found this video informative. If you do like the content that I post on my channel, it would be really helpful if you can press the subscribe button and also press the bell icon to be notified for future amazing videos on data science and machine learning. Thank you so much for watching the video.